When you're talking about games from the last console generation, more specifically from the late 2000s and the early 2010s, a lot of games come to mind. You have genre-defining games like Skyrim or Dark Souls, you have brilliant sequels like Halo 3 and Uncharted 3, and you have games that tried something new and ended up changing the landscape of gaming like Portal 2. And among all these genres and classifications of games, there's an interesting phenomenon that I and a lot of other people have noticed. The cult classic, a phrase you've probably heard time and time again. A game that may not have gotten the mainstream attention it deserved, but is loved regardless by its die-hard fans. And there are multiple examples of this. Some of these games have gotten sequels, some releases on newer consoles, some even getting complete remakes, but not every game is that lucky. Some games, regardless of how good they are, and regardless of how loyal and down bad the fanbase is, will never be touched again. No DLC, no remakes, nothing. Doomed to die in obscurity or to become the topic of some irrelevant YouTuber's video. And the game I'm going to be talking about today seems to have fallen in the latter category. A forsaken demigod on a warpath of revenge. If I had to describe the game in one sentence, then that's how I'd describe it, but that's barely scratching the surface. A lot of online sources describe this game as an interactive anime, and that's what it is, to be honest. I mean, if you don't like QuickTime events or you hate watching cutscenes, then this just isn't the game for you. This is a very story-heavy game, and a lot of the enjoyment I got from the QTEs and cutscenes come from the characters and what's going on in the story. And even if you want to look past that, underneath the story there's some combat that I really enjoyed. Admittedly underdeveloped combat, but that's because it wasn't the focus, and I promise I'm not just making excuses. This game's story had so much love and effort put into it, it was a roller coaster of emotions, and I enjoyed myself the entire time. There aren't any lows in this game, it just consists of a bunch of really high highs, but I don't know, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. All this fucking stuff will be talked about later on in the video. I mean, some of you guys have probably never even heard of the game. You just see some buff dude with white hair and red lines all over his body. Maybe you do know the game, but you just never played it. Or maybe you have played the game and I just want to hear some dude on the internet talk about it. Well, regardless of which one you are, you've come to the right place. My name is Jugo Young, and this is Asuras Wrath. Development for Asuras Wrath began back in 2007. In an interview, Kazuhiro Tsuchiya, the Capcom producer in charge of Asuras Wrath, said that they felt it would be meaningless to just create another run-of-the-mill action game. Hitoshi Matsuyama, the CEO of CyberConnect 2, followed that up by saying that above all else, they wanted to create a work of incredible impact that felt different from any other game. And I feel like it's safe to say that they achieved that goal. Regardless of how you feel about the game, you'd be lying if you said it wasn't unique. In the early 2010s, the gaming market was oversaturated with first-person shooters and shitty action-adventure games. Asuras Wrath was a breath of fresh air. It did something different, and more importantly, it did it well. I mean, if you ask me, I'd say they did it really fucking well. Fucking fantastic, 9 out of 10. I'm gonna give them a 7 out of 10. Fuck you. The initial write-up for the game called for a protagonist driven by rage. A protagonist that would take mind-blowing beatings only to turn the tables. The game's characters would be reminiscent of Buddhist deities, and I think it's very clear to see the inspiration when you look at some Buddhist mythology stuff. As they put it, they wanted to create an experience where players would constantly be placed into situations that would make them go, no way. They wanted to do things that nobody had ever seen before, and the episodic format was how they were going to do it. Similar to Telltale games like The Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us, Asuras Wrath has episodes, but I feel like this game uses the format to its fullest potential. They were going for a serial drama feel to help pull the story along, but I feel like it's more reminiscent of shonen and seinen manga like Berserk and Fist of the North Star. Looking back at the game's story, it actually shares lots of similarities to shonen manga and anime, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. The plot of the game shares story beats and themes with shonen anime or just anime in general. Asuras' journey and character arc throughout the game is akin to shonen MCs like Gon and Goku. I mean shit, just the idea of an angry character getting revenge is something that people are all too familiar with in media outside of anime. But the development team's writing process and the medium and way in which it tells the story is what makes it so unique. Asuras Wrath blurs the line between game and film. It creates an experience that no other game has ever created in my eyes. In my opinion, this is exactly how QTEs should be used in games. In each cutscene, you can feel the weight and force behind every punch and every kick and every thrust. Oh, that sounds crazy. Asuras Wrath was first announced at the 2010 Tokyo Game Show, and the initial announcement seemed a lot bloodier and I guess hardcore than the game actually ended up being. It has more of a focus on combat, showing off a ton of moves and attacks that ended up not being in the finished game. This beta version of the game ended up being very different than the final version we actually got, and it's cool to just look at it and see what could have been. Imagine if the game leaned more into the God of War beat 'em up gameplay and less on the cinematic side. But you know what? We didn't get that. What we did get was this weird fusion of shonen anime and fucking hardcore gameplay with some Buddhist mythology mixed in there, and I love it. After half a decade of development, Asuras Wrath would finally release on the 12th of February 2012. Oh shit, fucking 12/2/12. I don't know why I pointed that out, but I did. The game came out to mostly positive reviews and was playable on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. Sorry to all you people out there with Wii U's in 2012. Actually, I'm not sorry, because why did you buy a Wii U? Now, one thing I have to say is that this game's art design is phenomenal. The developers mixed Buddhist and Hindu mythology with sci-fi elements, and it just has like the perfect amount of shonen thrown into it. Not too much, but like enough for it to feel like something I would have watched when I was a kid. The markings and designs on the demigods' bodies are just so cool, bruh. And looking at Asuras when his arms get ripped off and like seeing the wires and stuff, it's so interesting. Like, it deadass had me wondering if they were robots and there's like gonna be some reveal at the end of the game. Like, oh no, these aren't demigods, they're robots that aliens gave the humans. I don't know what I'm talking about. It looks cool. Seeing the humans in this game living in these old ass villages and towns in contrast to like the demigods on high-tech ships and aircrafts, I don't know, it just seems intentional, like to show how much advanced they are compared to the humans and like how different their worlds are. Overall, the look of this game is just very cool and it adds a lot to the episodic dramatic feel of the game that they were going for. Okay, I feel like I've spent enough time talking about the game without actually talking about the game, so I think it's about time we start talking about the game play. Fuck me, that is so corny. Let's start talking about the gameplay. Let's go. Okay, so lots of parallels have been drawn between this game and the God of War franchise, and you know what? That's fair. I feel like anyone who's played this game will tell you that that statement isn't true, but from the outside looking in, it's understandable to think that. I mean, it's an angry dude killing gods so he can get revenge for his daughter and wife. You can't really blame them. But I do feel that if you delve deeper into the game more than just its most basic description, you'll see that it's very different to God of War. And the same goes for its gameplay. So as I mentioned before, Asuras Wrath uses lots of interactive cutscenes and on-rail shooter segments to help the cinematic feel of the game. But when you're not doing that, you'll be stuck with this. This is basically the normal gameplay. It's how you're going to be fighting enemies when you're not flying through space or impaling Earth with a sword. And it's not half bad. The game's combat is simple, but in this case simple doesn't necessarily mean bad. You've probably just been looking at the gameplay going on in the background and you know, what the fuck is this? He's hitting people, spinning, jumping in the air, buttons coming up, what's signals, signs? Well, I don't speak Japanese, what's this? And don't worry, idiot, I'm here to explain this shit to you. So you have a string of normal attacks and a heavy attack that has a cooldown. You can use this heavy attack to execute this spinning move, or you can wait till you knock an enemy down and this button prompt will come up. Pressing the heavy attack button once this prompt comes up will cause a short cinematic attack that does a lot more damage. Every enemy in the game has a unique animation for this, and it's really satisfying if you can get them to land. You can jump and dodge in this game, and if you normal attack while you're in the air, you have this mid-air combo. If you hold down the normal attack button while in the air, you can do this ground attack that I found really useful during my playthrough. Now, some of these attacks and moves do string together, but not all of them do. Sometimes while you're playing the game, you'll press one of the buttons and it will just like completely ruin the flow of combat. It's not that big of a complaint, but it's just something I noticed. In a game where you're running around as a demigod beating the ever-loving shit out of people, it's annoying when a weird attack or movement just completely takes you out of the game. Also, did I mention that you could shoot people? The shooting isn't only limited to the on-rail segments, you can use it during normal gameplay as well. Asuras shoots what I can only assume are the souls of his enemies from his hands, and if you hold the button down, you can aim it. At first I thought the shooting was going to be completely useless, but I was pleasantly surprised to see how much I ended up needing to use it. There are a colossal fuck ton of different enemies and enemy types in this game. Of course you got your basic cannon fodder enemy that doesn't do much damage and is just like kind of there to fill up space. There's these fat ass annoying demigod enemies, these fucking fast spear enemies, these flying robots. I mean bro, there is a lot of them. I haven't even begun to name all the different types. And I think it's great. The variety in enemies really helps diversify the combat and it stops you from just button mashing, because if you button mash against some of these enemies, they will beat your ass. When you're in the middle of combat, some of the stronger enemies will throw out strong attacks and that same aforementioned button prompt will come up. If you press it in time, you can counter the attack triggering with a cool ass counter animation, but if you don't, then the attack hits you and it fucking floors you. Among the many different enemy types that this game has, the bosses have got to be the best ones. Like, I genuinely don't think there is a single bad boss fight in this game. They're just all great. There was the Wizen fight where you had to fucking fight this literal planet-sized dude. There was the Yasha fight right after that where you were armless and you were literally just trying to fucking kick and headbutt the nigga. And bro, the August fight, oh my days, don't even get me... Oh my days, bro. I don't even want to spoil that fight, bro. That shit is too good. The boss fights in this game are fantastic. Most, if not all of the boss fights aren't just the normal combat gameplay, but I think that's great. They usually begin with the normal combat, which will then transition into an interactive cutscene or an on-the-rails shooter segment. And the way that the game does this is cool as fuck. Okay, so the game transitions from normal combat gameplay to the other shit by using its burst mechanic. Every time that you attack an enemy, your burst gauge goes up. And when it's filled, a button prompt will pop up, and this prompt will almost always throw you into an interactive cutscene. I really like how the developers implemented the burst feature. Calling back to the shonen elements that I talked about, it's almost as if your burst is like an anime power-up or something. Like all of Asuras' rage just builds up and allows you to deliver these devastating attacks that you can't do during normal combat. A lot of the time you won't be able to leave a certain section of the game simply by beating all the enemies in an area, and the only way you can leave is by filling your burst gauge. Now this isn't the case for all the areas of the game, especially later on when you're in the demigod's ships and aircrafts. In those areas, the game does follow a more traditional kill the enemies, go to the next room kind of system, but nonetheless, I still really love this feature. Since I've already mentioned it, we might as well just talk about the game's level design. So Asuras' Wrath is very linear, like extremely linear, and it's like that for a reason. Asuras' Wrath is dissimilar to other games like it because of its linearity. In any given level, you'll have an area to fight enemies and you'll either go forward or transition to a different area by using your burst sequence. Excuse this tangent I'm about to go on, but this is why I love the burst feature, bro. Like, think about it from the developer's point of view. It's such a smart tool to have at your disposal. The burst feature makes up for the game's lack of open explorable levels and replaces them with the on-the-rails segments that show you how the place would look when you're exploring. And these segments do a great job at just like showing off the environment. Like, to be honest, I'd argue that the on-the-rails segments show you more about the world and the layout of the level than an open level design would. But I feel like this only works specifically for Asuras' Wrath. Like, I don't know if this shit would work in a game like fucking, I don't know, Ninja Gaiden or something. Like, I don't know if this shit would work for Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks for the PS2, you know? Anyway, the burst feature's cool. I promise I won't talk about it for the rest of the video. But actually, that's a lie. I'm gonna talk about it during the story breakdown. But fuck all that shit. Let's go back to talking about levels, bro. You know, truth be told, there isn't actually much else to say. Along with being extremely linear, the level design is also extremely simple. There's no hidden collectibles, no branching paths, none of that. You just have an area to fight enemies, and I feel like that's all you really need in this game. I think it was a smart decision to leave all that extra shit out of Asuras' Wrath. The fact that the events of the games are so straightforward and like doesn't let you do your own shit works in its advantage. I know it sounds weird that the fact that a game like limits your ability to do things makes the game better, but in this specific case, it just works, bro. Only allowing you to fight and not do some other dumb bullshit kind of works in the story's favor. Cause like, just think about it realistically for a second. Asura isn't going to be running around looking for collectibles, bro. He's an angry demigod who wants revenge and he destroys anything that stops him from achieving his goal. And yeah, I know when you play video games you kind of have to have some suspension of disbelief. Yeah, like when you're playing Devil May Cry, I know that Dante probably wouldn't be fucking attacking pillars to find items, but I just think it's neat that in a game that was going for like a serial drama feel, almost similar to an anime or just a TV show, you kind of like have to follow the rules that the game sets for you. It's almost as if like you're not really controlling Asura, you're just doing what he did, and what he did was fucking lit, bro. What he did was being a badass. This game is a playable shonen anime, like simple as that. This game is more of an anime game than Storm 4 or Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and it's not even based off an actual anime. But at the same time, like, this isn't a Telltale game where you have to choose your words and you have multiple choices and it's fucking, oh, Snow White is gonna remember this. It's Asuras' Wrath, bro. You all know what you do in this game? You beat up people, then you burst, then you beat up some more people in a cutscene. It may sound like an oversimplification, but in my eyes, I see it as a compliment. In 2023, where every action game has RPG elements or an open world or some sort of choose-your-own-adventure game, Asuras' Wrath is just a game with a story to tell, and it lets you play that story. And that's what makes this game special in my eyes. It knows what it is, and it isn't trying to be anything else. It's just unashamedly itself. Similar to games like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, Asuras' Wrath also has a ranking system at the end of every episode. After you finish an episode, you're giving a rank based on your performance during that episode. And while I'm sure it's probably based on a number of different factors, the main thing you should focus on is your synchronization rate and not getting hit by enemies. And you're probably sitting there at home in your fucking bed while I'm standing up and my arms hurt because I have to hold my microphone. You're probably sitting there thinking, but you go young. What's the synchronization rate? Well, don't worry, my dear nigga. I'm about to explain. Okay, so when you're in a cutscene or just normal combat and one of those prompts come up, your synchronization rate is based on how fast you hit it and how good your timing is. And it's also based on if you press the right button or not. So like if the B prompt comes up and you press the fucking right trigger, then yeah, that shit brings your rate down. So based off that logic, if you're too slow and keep missing the prompts, or if your timing is just really off, your synchronization rate is gonna go down as a result. And as for the whole not getting hit by the enemies thing, I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. There are some things I didn't mention about the normal combat, you know, shit just like other playable characters, transformations, just a bunch of other cool shit. And while those things are cool and they are part of the normal combat, they're also kind of story related, and I don't really have much to say about them. So I figure I'll just go over the story, and when those things come up, I'll talk about them. Oh yeah, I also didn't really go in depth about the on-rail segments or the cutscenes, but I don't know, who cares, bro? This gameplay section is way too fucking long, and I don't know, I'll just combine the on-rail stuff with the story and describe it all together. I mean, like, the interactive cutscenes are fucking interactive cutscenes, so by nature they kind of have to be story related, so I just put all that shit together. Like, just so you guys know, this isn't just a, okay, so Ashura did this. This is gonna be a breakdown of the events of the game in depth, not just fucking blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? You probably don't. Well, just watch the video and you'll find out. Let's just get started. Alright, so this game's story is very interesting to say the least. Like I said before, it's a sci-fi revenge story with the same themes and tones of a shonen anime. It has great cutscenes, brilliant voice acting, and some really good music. But before I actually start talking about the plot of the game, I feel like it's necessary for me to talk about how it's formatted first. Alright, so as you guys should know by now, this game follows an episode format. There's 3 chapters in the game, and each of these chapters has 6 episodes in them, not including the 0.5 episodes like 11.5 or 15.5. There are a couple other episodes like the DLC and the secret ending, and the way that works means there is technically 4 chapters in the game, but I'll talk about those later on after I finish talking about the main story. The episodes in Asuras Wrath are a lot shorter than they are in Telltale games and a lot of other episodic video games. Asuras episodes are always between like 10 to 25 minutes long, further adding to the shonen anime / serial drama feel that the development team was going for. I feel like the easiest way for me to do this whole story breakdown segment is to just go episode by episode and explain things when they come up. So that's what I'm gonna do. And also, if I leave some things out, it's on purpose. Like, this is a story breakdown and I'm gonna be going over a lot of stuff, but like, I'm not gonna talk about the rock that showed up at fucking minute 13, second 25, and episode 7. You know, like, I'm not doing all that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? But regardless, just skip to this point if you want to avoid spoilers. Alright, now that all the goobers are gone, fucking, oh no, this game's been out for 10 years. I don't want to spoil the spoiler for it. It's been out 10 years, bro. If you haven't played it, you're not gonna play it. Or well, actually, you might watch this video and decide to play it. Let's get started with the story, man. Alright, so before you start the first episode, the game gives you some exposition telling you everything that led up to the game. These impure beasts called the Goma are terrorizing all the humans on Gaia, and also, for all intensive purposes, Gaia is just the Earth. Anyway, the Goma are fucking up the planet, so the demigods who looked after the humans created an army and this big-ass weapon to defeat them. This army was led by 8 elite demigods called the 8 Guardian Generals. These 8 specifically are just on a different level when compared to the other demigods, and they consisted of the demigods Deus, August, Wyzen, Olga, Sergei, Kalro, Yasha, and of course Asura. I must have pronounced some of those wrong. Alright, so this episode starts with one of many on-rail segments, and to be honest, it's not that good. There are some fantastic on-rail sections in this game, and I'm gonna go over them, but I'd be lying if I said some of them weren't just complete ass. The bad ones are usually just Asura flying through space while dumping projectiles into Goma. But, I don't know, I'm gonna give this one an excuse, as this specific on-rail segment is more of an introduction to the game than anything, and it also shows off the sci-fi setting that the game takes place in. After you finish this part, you have your first interactive cutscene, and it's pretty good. It's very short and kind of easy, but it introduces you to the game's QTEs and how much time you'll have to react to them. In one of the battleships, you're introduced to the Emperor of the Demigods, Strata, and Ashura's daughter, Mithra. Mithra is essentially just powering up the demigod army and making all of them stronger. She does this by using mantra, which is the cosmic energy that comes from emotions and prayers. Basically, all these humans praying to them are making them stronger, and when a demigod is feeling an extremely strong emotion, like anger for example, they'll get stronger. But you know what else is kind of like a synonym for anger? Wrath. Isn't that interesting? Is that maybe a little bit of foreshadowing if you think about it? Ooh, who knows? One thing I find cool about this part in retrospect is that you're introduced to a lot of the enemy types you'll be fighting, even if some of them are your allies right now. Throughout some more on-rails shooting, you're slowly introduced to the rest of the 8 deities and the commander of the 8 deities, Deus, who decides that it's time to fire the Brahmastra. The Brahmastra being that Goma killing weapon that I talked about before. And also, if it feels like I'm taking too much time on one episode, then I don't know, don't worry about that. The only reason episode 1 is taking so much time is because I have to introduce you to everything that is going on in this world, and once that's done, I'll be able to just focus on the story. But also, I'm looking at the script right now, and there are some episodes, like 3, 4, there are a lot of episodes that are longer than this one. So, yeah, buckle in, buddy, I don't know what to say. Anyway, the Brahmastra is fired, cool break screen, and Asura has to beat this strong-ass Goma. Mithra gives Asura a power boost, and he turns into 6-armed Asura. This is the first of many power-ups and transformations you're going to be seeing, so get used to it. So Asura beats the fuck out of that one Goma, but subdues it because he can't kill it. But he beats the brakes off of that thing. Fuck me. The demigods have beaten the Goma for now, and Deus gives this corny-ass speech. And with that, episode 1, The Coming of a New Dawn, is over. Episode 2 takes place the day after the fight, and all the demigods on the demigod planet are just turned up, bro. They're celebrating, they're happy, it's just good vibes all around. Asura comes home to his daughter and his wife, who is Yasha's sister, and some nigga tells Asura that the Emperor wants to see him. So Asura goes to meet the Emperor, as one does, but when he shows up, the Emperor is dead. Some demigod soldiers pull up, and it looks like Asura has killed the Emperor, so they accuse him of treason and chase him down. The whole time this is happening, Asura is confused. He's trying to explain that he didn't kill him, and title card. See, I'm telling you, bro, this is a fucking shonen anime. Only a shonen anime would fucking pause the entire episode when something as crazy as this is going on. After a bunch of fighting, the fat fuck deity, Wizen, pulls up, and one of the best boss fights in the game begins. I say begins because it's cut very early when Asura leaves the fight to check up on his family, only to find out that his wife Durga has been killed. It turns out that the rest of the deities have kidnapped Mithra to use her as a power source, so they can defeat the Goma and save the world. Asura tries to save her, but he's defeated by Deus. Deus throws Asura off the ship, killing him and leaving Mithra frozen, stuck to provide mantra for the demigod army. Asura screams that he will have his vengeance while plummeting to Earth, and with that, episode 2, Betrayal and Vengeance, is over. I feel like if episode 1 doesn't already pull you into the game, then episode 2 will. Everything past the death of the Emperor was so good, and those niggas at CyberConnect really teased us with the Wizen fight. But don't worry, all I'm saying is, in a couple thousand years, Asura will get the chance to get his get back. And yes, I said that right. A couple thousand years. Asura wakes up 12,000 years later in this place called Naraka, which is basically just purgatory. The golden spider is talking to him and trying to remind him of how he got there, which leads to a flashback. Oh yeah, there's a golden spider. I forgot to mention. There's a golden spider beside him. This flashback was essentially just a tutorial for the normal combat, so I'm not really going to go over it. But I guess it is important to note that August was Asura's mentor. Asura remembers how the deities finessed the fuck out of him, the spider does some instigating, and Asura makes his way back to Gaia. Yeah, this was one of the shorter episodes. It was mainly just a combat tutorial, but the flashback did provide some good insight on August's and Asura's relationship. Also, Asura's eyes turned white. That's pretty cool. Episode 4 starts with Asura walking around the village on Gaia looking like a nomad, and I don't know, this outfit was really nice. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it. He defends the village from some Goma, and then the demigods pull up and he just beats the shit out of them. Then this big ass Goma pulls up and Wizen appears out of nowhere. He uses the souls of the deceased villagers as power and defeats the Goma. Wizen talks for a little bit until Asura punches him in the face, so they start fighting. After Asura starts winning, Wizen just turns into the Hulk and becomes big as shit. And that concludes episode 4, Old Friends, New Enemies. Yeah, I guess that was another short episode, but you know, it's 4 AM in the morning and I need to finish recording this video, so I'm not complaining. Episode 5 starts off with Asura and the fat nigga arguing for a little bit, and then the boss fight begins. Bro, this entire boss fight is just so fucking good. Like, I don't know if it's the best boss fight in the game, but it's definitely my favorite and probably the most memorable boss fight in the game. Like, bro, this nigga Wizen becomes big as shit and he starts attacking you and then you kill him by punching his finger. You can't tell me that Asura isn't him, bro. But anyway, Asura beat Wizen, but in the process he lost both of his fucking arms. Jesus Christ. And then Yasha pulls up, and another title card. Episode 5 was basically just the Wizen boss fight, and I'm glad they did that. They gave the fight just the perfect amount of time and effort, and it turned out great. Episode 6 begins with Yasha talking shit to Ashura and then they fight. Ashura loses because he has no fucking arms and he gets sent back to Naraka. This episode was actually pretty short. This was really short actually. It's just them fighting and Ashura getting his ass beat, so it was over pretty quickly. But yeah, after episode 6, part 1, Suffering, is done and part 2, Rebirth, has begun. Ooh, that rhymed. And also, the names for these episodes and parts these are cool as hell, bro. Like, Hollow Victory, The Coming of a New Dawn, Hell on Gaia, bro. These are some fire ass names. Shout out to whoever the hell named these episodes, bro, because you did a really good job. Actually, you might be dead though, so rest in peace. Fuck, I'm so out. The next episode begins with Ashura climbing up that tall ass tower again, Golden Spider starts instigating again, and there's another flashback. It's another flashback of Ashura training with August, but this time Ashura is fighting this big ass elephant Goma in the desert. The flashback ends with Ashura talking to his wife, and then the spider reminds him of how his wife was put in a fucking pack by the deities, and then Ashura is back on demon timing. So after this, it transitions to Gaia, and this girl is holding her sibling in front of this, mountain, but it turns out that the mountain has Ashura in it, who is just made out of stone now, so yeah. Also, another really short episode, because, it's just another flashback, and it's some bullshit, but who cares. Episode 8. Ooh! Episode 8 starts with Ashura breaking out of the stone and he sees the girl and thinks of Mithra. Then a bunch of these gorilla-looking Goma pop out and just kidnap the girl. Ashura beats up all the Goma and then chases down the one that took the girl. And after a cool on-rail segment, Ashura saves the girl. In the girl's village, there's a Goma attack and Ashura has to fight this big-ass fucking turtle. If you haven't noticed by now, a lot of the Goma are based off animals, which is cool, but this turtle fight is fucking horrible. Me personally, I like turtles, but I don't know, bro. Because of this fight, for a good week straight, every time I saw a turtle, I just physically assaulted it. YouTube, that is a joke. YouTube, that is a joke. After the fight, one of the 8 deities, Kalro, pulls up with some soldiers and they're just on some bullshit, man. They start killing the humans so they can harness their souls for mantra. And obviously, my nigga Ashura isn't with that fuck shit, so he fights back and then that bitch ass nigga Kalro disappears and that's the end of the episode. Episode 9 starts where episode 8 left off, and Ashura flies into the air to demolish some demigods. The on-rail segment here is alright. Like I said before, this is just another one of those segments where you're just flying around dumping bullets into enemies. But, to be fair, the scenery in this section was fucking beautiful. It reminded me of that one stage from Kid Icarus Uprising. Psst, I also made a video on Kid Icarus Uprising, so go watch it after you're done with this one. Go watch it. Why am I whispering? Anyway, while all this fighting is going on, Ashura goes 6 arms mode without the use of Mithra's mantra, which is just a testament as to how angry this nigga is. More fighting happens, Ashura gets hit with this big ass laser, but obviously he's him so it doesn't phase him, so he gets onto another one of their ships and continues fighting. This is the first time you're on one of the ships, and it's really cool, man. I don't know, something about the interior of these ships is so fucking cool to me. And it's also refreshing to just have a level where you're just going through rooms and beating people up the old-fashioned way. No burst shit, you're just room by room, ass by ass, beating everyone up. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still love the burst mechanic, but it is nice to have a small break from it. Ashura continues beating demigod ass until he runs into Kalro, who just elaborates on how they've been finessing human souls for mantra. The episode ends with Ashura catching Kalro lacking and putting him in the most devious pack ever and then falling back to Gaia. But oh wait, August pulls up. Why is August here? Is he gonna fight Ashura? Well, I guess you have to find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. I'm telling you, bro, Ashura's Wrath is literally just a playable anime. So episode 10 starts off with these 2 grown men naked together in a hot spring. And hey man, I'm not here to judge. These 2 demigod girls pull up, and there's a bunch of stuff you can do here. I mean, I played this game around other people, in a public area, so I tried my best to skip through this part, but hey man, if you like titties, then you'll like this. I also just realized, bro, this is fan service. This is the fan service episode. Like other animes have fucking the beach episode, this is the hot spring episode. There is no way that this isn't a shonen anime, bro. After this, there's another poopy flashback segment, then you fight this annoying fucking turtle again, and then the episode ends on this cool ass title card. You know what? I think I'll make that my laptop wallpaper. Done. Episode 11 takes place on what I can only assume is the moon, and this whole episode is just the Ashura versus August fight. And like I said for Wizen a while ago, I am so glad that this fight got a full episode to itself, because this is a really good fight, man. Ashura and August are fighting on the moon, and it's like a normal combat section, and the normal you have to dodge projectiles and shit, and you have to jump and fucking dodge these fucking sword strikes, and then you have to do the button prompt. It's so fucking fun, man. And then August pulls out his sword and just stabs Ashura through the earth. And while all this is happening, August is going on this whole like monologue, and he's like, I don't fight for evil, I don't fight for good, I just fight to fight. And it's so fucking hard, bro. And after that shit, Ashura breaks the sword while it's still running through him, and Gaia, and while it's running through him and Gaia, do you guys get what I'm saying? It's running through him and the earth, and he breaks it in half. Ashura grabs the rest of the sword with his mouth and slashes August in the stomach, killing him. And August is all like, oh, I love fighting. Oh, you don't need me anymore. What are you gonna do with your anger? And like, bro, I love August so much, bro. August is probably my favorite character in the game, because it's like, he wasn't really involved with the killing of his wife and kidnapping of his daughter, and he also wasn't really on that whole harnessing human souls shit. August was just a nigga that loves to fight, and I just think that's cool. You know, like, think Kenpachi from Bleach, that kind of character. They're not really a bad person, not even a good person, they just like fighting. I don't know, man, those characters are just cool to me. Also, not to keep drawing comparisons to shonen anime, but a big buff dude that loves to fight, you guys gotta see the similarities, man. And the episode ends with another fucking turtle pulling up. God, I'm sick of these goddamn turtles, man. Also, yeah, Ashura's arms got ripped off again. So yeah, that was a pretty fun episode. Probably one of my favorite ones. I don't know. The fight was just so cool, and then that shitty turtle ruined it, but it's still a great episode. I don't know, man. I love it. R.I.P. the best character in the game, man. You will be missed. The fight between Ashura and the shitty poo-poo Goma isn't actually in episode 12. It's in episode 11.5. But for reasons I'm going to talk about later on in the video, I'm not going over the 0.5 episodes or the DLC. After the fight, the girl brings Ashura, who's still armless at this point, to the village. At first, the villagers start praying to Ashura, but then a demigod fleet pulls up and they just start killing everybody. Ashura fights them for a bit, but then the demigods just start bombing the village. Like literally, those niggas just started dropping bombs and the girl dies. So after that, this nigga Ashura just goes fucking Nine Tails beast mode and just starts fucking shit up. This moment actually caught me by surprise because, like, bro, just look at him. He's Nine Tails beast mode, bro. What the fuck? Episode 12 just ends with the whole village looking like a wasteland, and the demigod fleet retreats because Ashura is actually just destroying everything, bro. With that, part 2, Rebirth, is over, and the third and final part, Karma, has begun. Alright, so episode 13 begins with this bitch Olga pulling out the Brahmastra to defeat Ashura. But Yasha is all like, bro, you can't waste all those fucking human souls on this shit. He points out that those souls were sacrificed to kill the Goma, but Olga says that they need to get rid of Ashura. So Yasha takes things into his own hands and goes to stop Ashura, but also stop the Brahmastra too. Bro, in this episode you get to play as Yasha, and it's fucking amazing. All the button inputs are the same, like you still have the normal attack, heavy attack, dash, all that shit, but his moves are completely different. His combat is a lot more faster and sleeker when compared to Ashura, and it's a really nice change of pace in the game. After playing this episode, the idea of multiple different characters in Shura's Wrath is really interesting to me. Like, imagine if I was able to play as August and just swing his katana around, bro. That would be so cool. Shit like this is what makes me wish that this game was just longer and bigger and just overall had more content in it. Like, instead of it being what it is, imagine if it could have been like a Metal Gear Solid Revengeance type game. Fully fleshed out combat and like longer, more fleshed out levels and areas for each episode. You can keep the QTEs and the on-rail shooter stuff, but just add a lot more combat in between them. I love how this game turned out, man, don't get me wrong, but playing this episode and looking at the announcement trailer just gets me thinking of what could have been. Also, the on-rail segment in this episode is fantastic. Running through the ship and looking around at the sci-fi technology shit is so cool. And then these fucking demigods on these spinny motorcycle things start attacking you. Bro, this episode is too good, man. Anyway, after running through the ship, Yasha makes it to the Brahmastra and Olga says he's out of time. So to stop it, he just kicks it in the fucking face. Moments like these, bro. Moments like these are why I love this game. When I was fucking smashing the B button on my controller so I could kick this weird gigantic humanoid looking weapon in the face, it's like, how could I not love this game, man? Yasha drops a fire one-liner, Olga is mad, and the episode ends. Episode 14 starts off with you playing as Yasha again and you're fighting some Goma fish. Alright, listen, I like this game, bro, and I think the Goma designs are cool, but I'm getting tired of these fucking animals, man. I need to stop saying man. I need to relax on that. I'm getting tired of these animals, buddy. Yeah, so he's fighting these fish, and like the rest of the on-rail segments, the scenery here is beautiful. Yasha is on Gaia with this weird-ass nigga Sergey to get rid of some Goma, and honestly, Sergey is just weird, bro. He gives off weird vibes. He reminds me of Steve from American Dad mixed with Orochimaru. Remember that elephant you fought as Ashura a while ago? Yeah, I hope you liked that fight because you're gonna have to fight him again. After you beat the elephant, Sergey starts collecting souls from the dead humans and he's just on some bullshit until Ashura, who's still in this Nine Tails looking form, pulls up and just kills him. And that's the end of the episode. Once again, just like a shonen anime, the episode just ends as soon as the crazy stuff starts happening. In the next episode, it turns out that Sergey isn't actually dead, and he reveals to Yasha that he was the one that killed Ashura's wife, aka Yasha's sister. While I was watching this scene, it just reminded me of how good this game's character design is. Like, the way all the demigod soldiers or robots or mechs and the 8 deities almost look like androids in a way, it's just cool as hell. Like, looking at Yasha in this scene and just noticing the small details on his body, like the lines on his neck that just make him look more mechanical, it's just mad interesting. While Sergey is talking about whatever he's talking about, I guess Ashura just gets bored because he throws him to the floor and fucking curb stomps him, killing him. And once Sergey is dead, a fight between Ashura and Yasha ensues. But like, you're not playing as Ashura in this fight, you're still playing as Yasha. I gotta be honest, this boss fight is fun as hell. I don't know if it tops Wizen, but regardless, it's really fun, and I'm glad playing as Yasha wasn't just a one and done thing. As Yasha is fighting Ashura, he realizes that Ashura isn't really in the wrong because, you know, the 8 fucking Guardian Generals just killed his wife and stole his daughter. So he decides not to kill him, and he just hits him with this strong ass punch that brings him back to normal and knocks him out. Then he leaves. Episode 18 begins, and that fucking instigating ass spider is back, and he's talking to Ashura. But I guess to be fair, he's kind of useful in this situation. Ashura gets a surge of power and a new sense of determination and is on his way to kick Deus' ass. Ashura makes his way back onto the demigod planet, and now that I think about it, I don't know what the name of the demigod planet is. Do the demigods even have a planet? Nah, yeah, of course they do, but maybe they don't. Someone please tell me in the comments down below. Anyway, Ashura bulldozes his way through the ship until he runs into Yasha and starts arguing with him. While this is happening, Deus pulls up, and in response to this, Ashura grows this giant arm out of his back and tries to attack him, but promptly gets kicked in the face by Yasha. Ashura and Yasha start arguing about who gets to fight Deus, and once again, this is definitely a situation I've seen in the shonen anime before. Like, bro, you can't sit here and tell me you haven't seen fucking Goku and Vegeta arguing about who gets to beat the big bad guy of the week, bro. You've seen this shit before. And I love it. Ashura goes 6 arm mode and the fight with Deus commences, with both Ashura and Yasha working together to defeat him. Just as it seems that they're gonna defeat Deus, he fucking fuses with the Brahmastra, so Ashura and Yasha chase him down. Ashura and Yasha fight off demigods and try to get to Deus in a really cool on-rail segment, and Deus claps them. As in, like, fuck, that came out so weird. Deus tries to squish them with his now massive hands as they try to escape, and then the episode ends. I mean, bro, the game is almost over, but it's still hitting us with these suspenseful ass cliffhangers. But obviously, episode 17 begins and they escape the clap. I mean, I know it's a cliffhanger, but let's be real, guys. We all knew they weren't gonna die. So they escape the clapping, and it leads to this fire-ass on-rail segment where they're in the Brahmastra trying to find Deus. This is easily one of the best on-rail segments in the game, bro. Like, this whole sequence has this grandiose feeling to it. Maybe it's because the game is almost over, or maybe it's just because of how the music was hitting at the time, but this rail segment in particular has this unique sense of urgency to it. After that fantastic on-rail segment, Ashura and Yasha find Deus and where he's keeping Mithra, so they start fighting him. It's kind of wholesome if you think about it, like 2 grown men fighting together to save their daughter and niece respectively. I don't know, maybe I'm just zesty. I don't like the Deus fight as much as I like some of the other boss fights, but I'd be lying if I didn't say it was still a solid boss fight. Like, I don't know, it's just a little underwhelming for what I perceived as the last boss fight. The conversations that went on during this fight were very interesting and gave a lot of insight into Deus' thought process.
Mithra cry! She cries because she knows of the world's suffering.
Also, I will say that the cutscenes and QTE moments of this fight were really good, and this is really what made the fight a lot more enjoyable for me. They end up defeating Deus, and it seems like everything is cool, and we've gotten a happy ending, and everything is great until this fucking shit starts coming out of Gaia. So this thing is why Deus has been using human souls for power and keeping Mithra trapped. It was to fight this demonic ass poop spider thing. And yeah, episode 17 is over. I can't lie, I genuinely thought the game was going to be over after they beat Deus, and like the next episode was just going to be them celebrating or something. So I was genuinely caught off guard when that big ass Goma monster just protruded out of Gaia. But anyway, it's the final episode of Asuras' Wrath. Ashura and Yasha both have these red and blue auras surrounding them, and it's time to end this once and for all. An on-rail segment starts with a lot of QTE cutscenes in between, and this shit was fucking fantastic. Mithra and what I assume is like the soul of her mother provide Ashura with mantra, and Ashura has this magnificent transformation where he turns into Mantra Ashura. In this cool-ass burst sequence, Ashura and Yasha deflect the Goma's attack and get inside of it. Pause. Inside of it, they meet yet another Ninetales looking creature, but this time it's the Vitra core. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, but the Goma's name that we're fighting right now is called Vitra. I probably should have said that sooner, but who cares? Anyway, after a great normal combat boss fight and an equally great burst sequence, Ashura and Yasha defeat Vitra and return to Mithra on the ship. Finally reunited again, this is the end of Asuras' Wrath. What a fucking ride, man. I played this game over the Christmas holidays and I enjoyed every second of it. Asuras' Wrath is genuinely one of the best games I've ever played, and it's also one of the most unique experiences I've ever had with a game. It's been 10 years and Asuras' Wrath hasn't gotten a sequel or a remake or even a remaster. It hasn't even gotten like a shitty mobile game or something. If I could play this game with updated graphics and a 60 FPS frame rate, then playing this game again would be an 11 out of 10 experience. Or better yet, if the game got a remake with added content and like improved the combat or something like that, then it would make my year, bro. Fuck it, would make my whole lifetime. It would make my existence if that happened. But unfortunately, I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon. But don't let that put you off the game. It's still fucking fantastic and it's on most gaming devices. I mean, like, if you have a Nintendo Switch but want to play Asuras' Wrath, that's tough, but for everyone else that isn't a fucking child, you should buy this game. No remakes or remasters, no sequels. I guess this game is just going to remain a cult classic. But hey, it could be worse. And who knows, maybe one day we will get some new Asuras' Wrath media. Alright, so you might be thinking, Jugo, what about the 0.5 chapters? And what about the DLC? And what about the secret ending? Well, you guys are gonna have to fucking wait. This video is already long enough as is, so if this video hits a certain like goal, I'll just make another video just reviewing and going over all of that stuff. Also, I guess I'll just put this here because I don't have much to say about it and I don't really know where else to put it, but the music in this game is really fucking good. And it's not the same type of good as like Persona 5 or Nier Automata where I just listen to it because it's genuinely just great music to listen to. Yeah, like it's not that, but the music in Asuras' Wrath just fits the game so perfectly. It feels like for every scene in the game, there's also a song to match it, and it just makes the moments in this game so much more memorable. So, yeah, that was my little spiel about the music. It's pretty good. Ooh, the video is finally fucking done. By the time I post this, it'll probably have been like a month since I last fucking uploaded, so, yeah, I know, sorry about that, guys. But I don't know, man. Y'all should let me know if you like these longer videos and retrospectives. I'm gonna sit down. I stand up recording, bro. I need to stop that. I'm gonna like be in a wheelchair by the time I'm 30. Fucking let me know if you like these longer videos. But also, like, even if I do make longer videos, that doesn't mean I'm just gonna be posting one video a month from now on. I just got a little distracted after working on the Nier Automata video. It flopped, so yeah, kind of bad. It just kind of put me off working on videos for a while. Hey man, I said I was gonna take a break during Christmas, but I didn't take a break during Christmas. I just kept making videos, so I guess my break was overdue and I decided to take it after Christmas. So yeah, don't hate me for that. Yo bro, why is the audio quality just gone down so badly as I sat down? Anyway, I plan on making a video about Fullmetal Alchemist. No reveals, but it's not just going to be like an FMA retrospective. Or, who knows, it might be. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and it probably has like 500 million views right now. I don't know, who knows. I'm obviously writing this script before I've recorded this video, so I'm not looking forward to recording this shit. But if you're listening to this right now, then this part is kind of weird because it's my thoughts from yesterday that I'm reading out. But also, this isn't something that like I just thought of. This is stuff that I wrote down that I'm reading to you. Like, everything that I'm speaking right now is stuff I wrote down. Like, this isn't me going off the top of my head. I wrote this down. Like, what I just said a second ago, I wrote that down. Same with this. Bro, it's late at night and I'm tired. I can't do this fucking psychological inception shit. Let me hit you guys with the classic. Let me stand up for this, actually. Oh, fuck. This was your boy Jugo Young, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Have fun, don't die, don't do drugs, stay alive. Shout out to all my guys. Goodbye. Peace.